Welcome to the Jennifer. No, we're leaving this in. We're starting. No, this is not to be cut. We're starting this episode. I have lipstick. No, I have hair in my lipstick. When I pull it out, I risk dragging lipstick across my face. But that's where my life is right now. Normally, we would cut this out. We're not cutting this out. Welcome to This is Jen, the podcast of the highest quality. Of all the podcasts you listen to, I mean, you can't beat this one in terms of professionalism and quality. We have Shady Ray with us here. We have Hallie Lord managing the post-production, in which, you know, when I take it too far, when I say things that my husband would delete the whole YouTube channel over, but he doesn't know how to delete the audio podcast, so don't worry, guys. That'll always be there. And Hallie, she supervises all of the post stuff. So that is our team that we have. Lots of stuff going on the podcast today. I will disprove atheism once and for all, so that'll be exciting. Yeah, I thought that was good stuff. I thought that would make a good episode. I want to start by saying thank you so much for your reactions to my stand-up comedy special, The Naughty Corner. If you can leave a review on Amazon, you are changing the world. You are adding tremendous value to the world. Here's why. People in the industry, the comedy entertainment industry, this special has gotten on their radar because there was this perception that there just wasn't really that much of a market for comedy from this perspective. I had a few people who are in this sort of industry tell me they would watch a reel, they would watch some of my comedy, and they would say, oh, okay, you've been working hard. This is real comedy. This is good comedy. But they said, it's niche. It's niche. I don't think there's a market for this. And here's what burned me up about that, Shady. Shady's been to the comedy clubs with me. First of all, she saw how hard I slogged it out. She's seen me kill, and she's seen me bomb, and like she knows how hard this has been to pull this all together. So she is also familiar with the work of other comics.
Oh, yes.
And how do I on a podcast where I keep it PG-13 even hint at some of the topics that other comics talk about that are mainstream? Like, I mean, you would go to these comedy clubs and a normal, quote unquote, normal bit of comedy. I'm going to speak very euphemistically because I know that you guys listen to this podcast when you're driving around. You might have kids in the car. Okay, so very normal set of another comedian would involve drug use.
Yes.
Would involve sexual activity that the Lord does not approve of, sexual activity that would indicate that you are not walking with the Lord and you haven't read the Bible, and and perhaps involving multiple people. This is the second time I've made a reference to that in the first 3 minutes of the podcast. How I even have one subscriber left, I do not know. And so, and like being on Tinder, I mean, that you heard making jokes about Tinder is like everyone does it in the comedy. It's just true. Even the more mainstream comics, they will even say like, guys, we got to stop making Tinder jokes because everybody does it. Everyone makes Tinder jokes. So that's mainstream. Talking about all sorts of sexual craziness. Can I say that? Is that still PG-13? I'm about to get demonetized on YouTube too. All sorts of craziness in the area of human sexuality. How about that?
Yep.
And drugs and Tinder and hooking up. I mean, just there's no end to it. That's mainstream. But me talking about just being kind of cynical about life in the suburbs and driving a minivan and family vacations, that's niche. Okay, so that's how the entertainment industry...
Like day-to-day life.
Yeah, right, niche. That's living in the suburb. Who lives in the suburbs? Nobody. That's niche. So this is why your Amazon reviews really make a difference, because this has gotten on the radar of people in the industry that the show where I filmed this at the Arcada Theater outside of Chicago got 1,000 people out, sold the thing out on a Wednesday night, no less. Name another comedy special that was done on a weeknight. Typically, to make sure you get the max crowd, you always do Friday, Saturday night shows. Wednesday night, 1,000 people out at the Arcada. Obviously, this was pre-COVID. It was a super spreader event. This was pre-COVID. And so people in the industry are like, well, wait a minute. wait a minute, could it be that there might be a couple of people who are interested in comedy that references the suburban family experience? So they're watching this. They're saying, how is this special going to do? And then that could lead to more. They might say, okay, are there other Catholic women? Are there other people of faith? And not just for stand-up comedy, but for entertainment. This is the kind of thing that changes the perception of the entertainment industry. So that is why, if you have a second to leave an Amazon review, someone told me the other day I should be getting IMDb review, Internet Movie Database. Okay, I don't know. If you feel moved, go ahead and jump onto IMDb and review it there. But mainly it's Amazon reviews. If you have a second, it would just be cool and might even change things, might even move the needle just a little bit on modern entertainment if these gatekeepers, if these executive types, some of which I have been told through the grapevine are pulling up the special and watching how it's doing, if they're like, wow, okay, this actually has a lot of Amazon reviews, people seem to be enjoying this, that is going to change their perception next time they're going to book someone for stand-up comedy, to do a special, to do an Amazon Prime special, a Netflix special. This could potentially open doors for other people who are bringing this worldview. And by the way, the people who talk about all this craziness, these comics, a lot of them are my friends. You guys know my background. I'm not offended by stuff like that. I think it's fine. If that's your experience of drugs and living out 50 Shades of Grey and all that, fine. That's your experience. Talk about it in your comedy. That's great. Again, I'm friends with a lot of these people. What drives me crazy is that right now there is almost no diversity, especially among comedy done by women. There are very, very, very few women who are given a voice who do anything other than very, very blue, very vulgar comedy, which, again, there's a space for that, but right now it's 99% of the market. I'd like to see a little diversity. That is why your review on Amazon makes a difference. So you change the culture by reviewing on Amazon. All right, speaking of my worldview, the worldview of the vast majority of people who listen to this podcast is, I would say most people who listen to this podcast they're people of faith in some manner. A lot of Catholics, but certainly not all Catholics listen to this. But I have great news for you guys. We can disprove atheism once and for all, because this is being recorded. This podcast is being recorded on the feast of the Immaculate Conception. And that, for Catholics, is what we call a holy day of obligation, meaning we go to Mass, we go to church on these holy days of obligation. It's really a beautiful thing that the church does to say there are some feast days that are so important and so significant that it doesn't matter what day of the week it falls on. Y'all need to have your butts in the pews at church to honor this. And one of the cool things is, it's funny that everyone says the Catholic Church is so anti-woman. The feast of a bunch of our holy days of obligation, the feast of the, not Assumption. Okay, you might notice there's a cut in this footage. I just spent a really long time, I'm a Catholic apologist. Like I'm a Catholic speaker. I just spent a really long time that we have cut out for your convenience, trying to remember the difference between the Assumption and the Ascension. In my defense, these are very heavy theological concepts that both start with A. And so who can possibly keep them straight? Okay, the point I was trying to get to is the anti-woman Catholic Church. A bunch of our extra requirements, like it's the Feast of the Immaculate Conception currently, so we need to go to church today, which is why I'm actually in a little bit of a hurry on this podcast, and the Feast of the Assumption, not Ascension. These are holy days of obligation, and they have to do with Mary. That is one of the very interesting things I thought when I came into Catholicism. Like there's this great honoring of the woman, of the Blessed Mother, of her experience. So anyway, and by the way, the Immaculate Conception public service announcement does refer to Mary and not to Jesus. So all this is to say, do you know how hard it was to get me and my husband to convert to a religion that puts this kind of thing on your calendar? And by the way, and I'm not only talking to the Catholics. This is going to sound like I'm just telling the Catholics, like, isn't it great to be right? We're just right. I'm not. Shady is not Catholic. Many of my listeners are not Catholic. I'm not only speaking to the Catholics, but this does prove that some kind of theism must exist. If you know me personally, you know that trying to get me to do anything that involves getting out of my little bubble and my little routine, like something that is not my plan, like planning a national stand-up comedy tour entirely on my own with Hallie and just cold calling theaters and booking them, like that whole thing, that's not hard. But like if I am comfortable in my house and someone is like, hey, don't forget we were going to go to lunch today, I'm like, ooh, Jesus, take me now. I've lived a good life. This is, I mean, it just, and I mean, you get that, right? You know, it's like, I can do big things.
Like, I ate this morning.
Yeah, but small commitments, I'm like, I can't. I like getting things on my calendar is one of the hardest things in the world. You know how there are all these inspirational posts on Instagram, like, girl, you need to learn to say no. I learned that a few years ago. I'm very good at saying no.
I can't stop.
I can't. I'm addicted now. Right. No to you. I'm very good at saying no. And keep in mind, I was raised atheist. My weekends were wide open for my entire life. My whole perception of the weekend is you get a full day where you don't have to do anything on Saturday.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and then guess what? You get to do it again on Sunday. Whew. And so I was thinking, I think of this every time there's a holy day of obligation. I used to beef with atheists. And it was so much fun. It was really good time. We have actually, Hallie, grab this screenshot. In post, we will add this, a screenshot of the number 2 Google result for my name used to be P.Z. Myers, this big loudmouth atheist, desecrated the Eucharist. I don't want to say he's a horrible man because I'm sure Jesus loves him, but he did not like me. He said some nasty things about me. So his post, which made it onto Reddit as well, it says, Jennifer Fulweiler, vacant-eyed, mindless cluelessness personified. And he and all his little minions, I don't know if the comments are still there, but
sounds nice.
He and all his little minions, they just went after me and just trashed me personally in every which way, talked about how stupid I am. I mean, hundreds of comments at the time. Reddit got it. It was so much fun because I had the time and the inclination to deal with these people. So I was writing at the National Catholic Register and I just hit right back at him. And it was just, I don't know. I should do it again.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I should stir that pot again. So, one of the things they always say is that, do I have lipstick on my teeth?
You just got some on me.
No!
It just happened.
Okay, hang on. See, this is why I should have kept my podcast audio only. Is it better?
No, it's fine. Yeah, it's gone.
I'm trying to show how atheists are wrong and I have lipstick on my teeth. This is, everything's different. Is okay, am I good?
It's gone, yeah. It had
See, when that happens once, then you're paranoid.
It had just happened, so you're good.
So... It's the holidays. I get a pass. So one of the things these atheist guys would always say is that I converted to this religion out of convenience because I couldn't handle the mental rigors of being an atheist. I was weak and I couldn't handle it. And so I clung to this religion. And what I'd love to go back to these guys. And maybe I'll start a new beef. Maybe fresh beef.
What's for dinner?
Right, yeah. Yeah, beef. It's what's for dinner. I don't put it past me. I might do this. And if I went back to them, I would say, are you guys not aware that home church is now a trend among some branches of Christianity? You don't think I would have chosen one of those? and then I would have taken it to the next level? I've said this before, that I would do sleep church.
There you go.
Where it's like, well, if you guys can do home church, where you're not going to any specific place, you guys don't believe in the real presence and the Eucharist, and so it's like, why be here or there? You can do this at home. So fine. And I would be like, I'm asleep, and as I fall asleep, I'm going to be like, Lord, I invite you into my dreams. And that will be church. And I'll sleep extra late. Like I will sleep till noon to make sure that I get the full sleep church experience. Do you know how quickly I would have signed up for one of those religions? If that's what I were looking for, if I were looking for convenience, I would have also done. So I would have, you know what? You know me. I would have founded my own religion. That's what I would have done. And it would have had all the best of like the Jehovah's Witnesses who don't celebrate anything. It would be like for Christmas, we have a rock in our house. And I'm not saying that Jehovah's Witnesses do this. I'm saying I would do this. We have the Christmas rock.
Oh, yeah.
And it's bad to celebrate things because it just is. And birthdays, no presents, no parties. Do you know how much stress that would take out of my life? And then, and we would do sleep church.
A lot of free time, huh?
And no moral code, really. It's just like whatever Jen kind of feels like doing
brush
that
your
day
teeth or something?
would be. Yeah, you're right. It would be like, as long as you brush your teeth, you're probably fine. That would be the actual moral code. And, I love Viking mythology.
Ooh.
And I love the vengeance of it, and just the idea that Odin is on your side,
Bring
but
back
he
revenge.
hates your enemies. And so he's like spending his time up in the great mead hall in the sky, just scheming against your enemies. So Odin would also be part of it. But it would still be Christian.
There you go.
I'm not sure how we would work all this out.
I like it. You need a little revenge in your life.
But I think, so now we know. So I've just revealed way more about myself than I think that you can tell everything you need to know about a person. That if you were to start a religion that were maximized on your own personality and convenience, what would that look like? That should be a first date question for my single listeners. I think I'm going to get you guys married off here. So this is how you can learn everything you need to know about any potential dates. Just ask them. You're at the Starbucks sitting outside as the wind blows with your masks on, because this is how it is. And so say, hey, nice to meet you. If you were to craft, and first question, really, because let's not waste anyone's time. If you were to craft a religion based on your personality and just what works for you and your convenience, what would that look like? That will tell you everything. So we have the Jen religion of, and heaven would also be more the Viking view of heaven, which is very compelling because your enemies are not there. Like if they are your enemies, they're not at the mead hall. Odin does not want them at the mead hall. So that would be heaven. And the only moral is just brush your teeth and leave Jen alone. Yeah. That would also be kind of a key part of the moral code. And it would just be a sort of like whatever works for y'all is probably pretty cool.
All right.
But you have Jesus' unconditional love.
Yeah, you need that.
So this is my message to the atheists who always come after me. When I do things, I do them big and I do them right. And if I were to have converted to a religion because I were like, I just can't handle atheism, you guys are too smart. You guys on the Reddit forum you're just, wow, that was a great point. And you have the flying spaghetti monster as your avatar. And I can't argue with that because that is a direct analogy to every theistic belief system. And you guys just, I cannot argue with your intellect, and so I'm going to just cling to a religion because I'm scared of Reddit atheist intellect. It wouldn't have been Catholicism. Are you kidding me? We've got Lent. Like, do you know the guilt that I feel every Lent? Advent, I still don't have Advent candles because if my life depended on getting Advent candles within a week, I couldn't do it because I live in a Protestant part of the country. I will convert all of these people to Catholicism just so that our stores start carrying liturgical stuff. The Protestants have also infiltrated Amazon. Nothing is on Prime. Nothing is actually, if anyone can find purple and pink candle, like pillar candles on Prime, please link them in the comments on YouTube or I don't know email me. thejfshow.com. That's actually my old Sirius XM. But it works. It'll get to me. thejfshow.com. My email is there. If you can find Advent candles on Amazon Prime, let me know. So I still don't have them. We're well into Advent at this point. I still do not have Advent candles. And so I feel all this guilt about this. We barely got our Christmas tree up. And I feel this enormous amount of guilt that not only, I always failed at Christmas. We celebrated Christmas as a secular holiday even before we converted, and I always failed at that. But now I have new liturgical seasons to fail at, and all these days during the year when we have to go to church on weekdays. I'm sorry, I'm going to get flack for this. When we get to go to church, yes, guys, I realize the Mass, it's the Eucharist. It's the body and blood of Christ. This is an amazing thing, and I do appreciate it. But my ingratitude knows no bounds. And my ability to be overwhelmed by life really it's like the ocean. It has no end. And so the strain and stress that it causes me to get 6 children ready for Mass, and this is another opportunity for us to fail because I just cannot micromanage the way each one of these kids dresses. So I'll be kind of dressed up. Like, see, I have my power earrings in. I'm wearing kind of a nice outfit. And my kids will be looking like they are homeless people hanging out at the beach. And it's just too much. I'm just like, oh, let's just get there, whatever. And so I'm sure I am judged by many people at my parish, some of whom listen to this podcast, some of who know who I am. And I show up with my ragtag crew. I would not have signed up for any of this. We would be doing sleep church, or if I had to do one of the traditional religions, it would be like the Sunday only Christian. No holy days of obligation, no Lent, no Advent, none of this. So I have now proven atheism false because Joe converted same time. He was also not Catholic, and he also converted. And he, man, if you think it's hard to get me to do things I don't want to do, Shady knows. No one is getting that man to do anything he doesn't want to do. No one gets on my husband's calendar. No one. So to get these 2 people to sign up for entire liturgical seasons where there is stuff on our calendar, holy days of obligation, Sundays, like all of this stuff, it proves that God is real. The power of Jesus is real. Everyone needs to convert to Catholicism. I think all my listeners are there because they're like, I can't argue with that. It must be true. So next time the internet atheists come after me, I think that's going to be my pitch. It might be my most compelling pitch for why I'm Catholic. Like, you guys think I would have put all this stuff on my calendar if Catholicism weren't true? Give me a break.
Absolutely not.
So all that is to say, I'm actually watching time pretty closely because in 50 minutes, I need to pack up my kids and get to church. So let me jump into my next point. Speaking of bad atheist ideas, it has come to my attention that there is now a trend of doing minimalist manger scenes. Why? And we'll have Hallie. We're going to have Hallie add these images and posts so that on YouTube, you can look them up and see them. And it's actually worth it. Note the timestamp of where we are. So if you're listening on audio, you can look this up on YouTube. Shady, I have one here. Mm-hmm. This has got to be Swedish. This is
the work of the Swedish.
Yeah, they got it right with their Viking belief system. Well, not compared to Christianity, but like if you're going to have a polytheistic mythology. I mean, they really killed it with the Viking belief system. But ever since then, it's been all downhill for these people. Look at this. I'm going to see if Shady can see that. We'll add this in post for you listeners.
Are those just balls?
They're balls. They're colored balls in a box. So the box, it looks like a shoe box, is a manger.
It looks like Play-Doh.
And it's like little Play-Doh, but they're just balls. And it's like, well, this is it. Like, which one is supposed to be the Lord? Which one is supposed to be Jesus? This is
my Jesus ball.
Yeah, that ball right there. What? And then here's
like
another
Jesus.
One is I won't tear down this whole setup to show you, Shady. We'll add it in post. Another one is they're just sticks.
Like
they're just sticks.
Like Jenga pieces?
It's manger scene Jenga.
Oh my goodness.
And then we have one. These are like different shaped sticks. Where is this one? I just saw this. Oh, here we go. One is it looks like Stonehenge, but with a little bit. I said I wouldn't pick my computer up again, but Shady, can you describe this for the good audio listeners?
It looks like the toys that you buy for your toddlers when they're learning shapes to like put them in the right spot.
No, there's more variety with those. It's like just I
think Stonehenge was the best way. Seriously.
Gosh, it's okay. So what this brings us to, because speaking of, this is the world that atheists want. I know a lot of atheists who would say that's ridiculous. Well, this is the world that you want. Because here's the thing. One of the things about the great Judeo-Christian tradition is that we believe that beauty is one of the attributes of God. So the attributes of God are truth, goodness, and beauty. So beauty is something to be appreciated. Beauty comes from God. And I think we take that for granted because this country used to be a Judeo-Christian country. And so we've, just by osmosis, a lot of us have picked that up. But there have been plenty of cultures, plenty of worldviews in which they saw beauty as a distraction. Like whatever gods they believed in didn't like beauty because it makes you too attached to this world. In fact, some of the Puritan sects that really kind of went off the rails and took things too far, they kind of lost that idea that beauty is one of God's attributes. So they intentionally made their churches very, very plain, almost to the point of being ugly, because they believed that that's a distraction. Yeah, it gets you too attached to this world. So we believe in the exact opposite, that beauty is something that connects the soul to God. And I've often thought of beauty as it's like a secret handshake for the only animals on Earth that have souls. Because when you think about it, there are a lot of animals on Earth, and there are even smart animals. I mean, there's some chimpanzees that could probably do my taxes better than I could. I mean, they're like really smart. So, I mean, sometimes people even think like, what is there a huge difference between humans and and the primates? But the big difference between us and even the smartest other animals, like our dog is really smart.
I was going to say, Scout's got it.
Yeah. So what, I mean, you could see with some of the people who I've had conversations with, I'm like, them and Scout. I mean, I don't know. But one of the big differences that you see is this defining thing is that even the smartest animals, they cannot appreciate art. I mean, you could take an original Monet. And
what do you think of this, Scout?
Yeah, and like hold it in front of my dog, and he's just going to lick himself. He's not going to appreciate that original Monet. Humans are the only animal on planet Earth that can appreciate beauty. And of all types, I would say even humor. That's another thing, that there's no other animal that really understands humor the way that we do. So these things are done correctly. They're very soul-elevating things. They connect us to God, and that is why historically Christianity has always really valued beauty. And so that is why having a bunch of balls in front of a box and calling it a manger scene, it's anti-Christian. It is like against the entire concept of what Christmas is all about, because to celebrate God and God incarnate is to celebrate beauty and to celebrate this connection we have to the divine through beauty. Now, when I've had conversations like this, we have many, many friends. I give atheists a hard time all the time. But guys, my dad was an atheist. I have a lot of atheist friends. I'm just giving them a hard time, even though I am right. I mean, that can be that can be a burden. But
jot
I'm
that
good.
down.
Yeah, and this is these are the actual conversations that we get into when we're out for drinks. It's great fun. So what they'll say is like, well, beauty is entirely subjective. Who's to say that the Sistine Chapel is more beautiful than that stick on the ground? You could make the case that there's no different. One person thinks the stick is the most beautiful thing in the world, and another person thinks the Sistine Chapel is, and who's to say who's right or wrong? And that's why it's important to remember that one of the things that we see religion as doing, that we see the practice of faith as doing, is connecting us to true beauty, which is another way of saying connecting us to the divine. You can tell that someone is not walking with the Lord if they say stupid things like, is that stick any less beautiful than the Sistine Chapel? And it's one of those things. You can't prove in a scientific laboratory that the Sistine Chapel is more beautiful than the stick, but we all know that is a ridiculous statement with no merit to it at all. And I've literally had these conversations at bars, like after a few drinks. Like we all know the truth. And by the way, that was one of the things when I was converting from atheism. I was like, not every truth has to be proven by science, because there are things that we know as true, like the Sistine Chapel being more beautiful than the stick, that, okay, science can't prove that, but we all know it's true. 99.99999% of humans who hear that statement are like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, we know what is true here. So, but the reason why anyone would make that case, and you might have the 0.0001% of people who would say, no, I think the balls sitting in front of a box for the manger scene.
Gorgeous.
I think that's the truly beautiful manger scene, as opposed to one that's like beautifully carved and has the colors and is very ornate. No, I think the balls are better. Hey, have you seen those Swedish sticks? Those are amazing. That's what we need to get in on. The only person who would say that is someone who is not walking with the Lord and is not getting close to God. And that's one of the things that our faith is supposed to do for us. And the closer we get to God, the more we change, ideally. Anyone who listens to this podcast is like, yeah, Jen has some work still to do. But the ideal, the closer we get to God, we change. And one of the ways in which we change is that we develop a more fine-tuned appreciation for that which is true beauty, which is another way of saying we develop a more fine-tuned appreciation of that which is of God. Because truly beautiful things are of God, whereas the ugly, the banal, the things that are the opposite of beauty, that are ugly, those are not. They don't have that same. They don't elevate your spirit to connect you to the divine. So all that is to say, it's objectively ridiculous to suggest that these minimalist manger scenes have any merit to them at all. And I'd go so far as to say they're anti-Christian. Not like I don't think it's like the war on Christmas. We'll take these Christians down once and for all with our balls in front of a box. I hope no one skipped to this point and heard that statement out of context.
I hope they did.
You really need to know the context of that statement. But if they did, if they wanted to take down Christianity, I would say these minimalist manger scenes are about as good of a tactic as any, because they are truly against the entire spirit of Christmas, which is to honor the Creator who leads us to the ultimate beauty. All right, that's a good place to end, right? Yeah. I should quit while I'm ahead. All right, this has been another fun episode. I am taking next week off, I think. I'm 90% sure that I'm going to. I've been hearing from a lot of people. They are busy with the holiday season. They have a million things going on. And they're telling me they're like binge watching and listening to the podcast to catch up. They're like, Jen, I need a little bit of time. Need a little time to catch up on your podcast. So, and I'm busy with holiday stuff anyway. I think I will end up taking next week off. I'm not sure. But where I definitely will not be taking the week off is Patreon. I always do weekly bonus episodes there. It is so much fun. And I go into a little bit more kind of intimate, like what's going on behind the scenes, family stuff, things that I am learning the hard way, as always. So that is a weekly podcast over there, entirely fresh material that is not available anywhere else. And you can find all of that at patreon.com/thisisjen. All right, Shady Ray, thank you so much. Another fine and fabulous episode. And I'm pretty short on time to get to Mass, especially that I have to run, get the kids. And what's great, though, is nobody knows, like the average person does not know when the feast of the Immaculate Conception is. So normally I wouldn't date the podcast that way. I try to make each episode one that you can listen to anytime. You could listen to months from now, and it still feels fresh. But no one knows with it. For all people know, this is July 2nd. Nobody knows when the feast of the Immaculate Conception is. So I think we are good. And again, patreon.com/thisisjen. Watch my stand-up comedy special, The Naughty Corner. Google The Naughty Corner Fullweiler, to make sure that nothing crazy comes up. And we will be back probably week after next here on This Is Jen.